Hi all, this is Nish from Professional Visa and Education Services, your immigration lawyer. Today's my topic is about the unannounced 485 visa application fee changes over the weekend, no grace period, and no industry consultation. Now, usually when things like this happens once a year, there'll be pricing adjustment based on consumer pricing index, and fees. Immigration fees has always increased significantly in the past few years. But over the weekend, we have noticed changes on the 485 visa application fees, and the increment on the fees is quite substantial. And this particular increment was so huge that it seems unfair on international student categories, because international student, well, Australia in last decade has done incredible job in cultivating international education sector and enticing international students to Australia for their future perspective. Students always pay much higher tuition fee than local students. On top of that, there has been a significant increase on student visa fees not long ago. Now, it seems to be a pattern with the Department of Home Affairs that in the name of policy corrections, the fees has now been significantly spiked up for 485 visa application. What's the implication of this on international student visa? Well, international student visas are already tightened up and getting a lot of scrutiny because of a lot of media attention on the migrants and a lot of media attention about the unskilled migrants. So it has been quite a hot topic for a lot of election campaigns. And with this particular announcement of the 485 visa fee increment, this is quite unusual for us as well. Like usually these kind of announcements are done with the stakeholder meetings, and also there are a lot of newsletters and informations usually get circulated by the authorities themselves. But this seems to be a very unannounced, a shocking news for international students. Now, the reason why I would say this is a little bit shocking in that essence is because um, if if there was some announcement prior to the changes on the fees, obviously those who are eligible for 485 applications, could have applied for the visa application before the increment on the fees, and those cohort would have saved a lot of money. But because of the unannounced policies, I'm sure there has been a lot of people who's been missed out the deadline, and also you now have to pay the significant increment on the visa application fees. Now, as a migrants and as a immigration lawyers, we have always been vocal about some of the changes and policies that immigration has introduced seems to be unfair and unjust. Look, I'm not questioning why the application fee has increased, and obviously, I'm sure some smart people have done some number crunching and business case around this. I guess my more disgruntled side is how the implementation was done. Now, this has particularly impact significantly to the graduate students who have just recently graduated after paying enormous amount of tuition fees to their universities and education providers. Now they're applying for graduate visas. Now they've been slapped with enormous amount of visa application fees for 485, making people think that whether or not they should stay in Australia and apply for 485 and further visa applications. I guess the intention of this significant spike on the visa application fee could also be that the Department of Home Affairs doesn't want to encourage a lot of people to stay on a temporary permanent visa for longer period. I guess they just wanted to make this less appealing as opposed to why this visa was introduced in the first place anyway. If we go back to the 485 history, this visa was actually introduced to retain and acquire those skilled migrants or someone who's already working in the field, someone to fulfill the labor shortage and skill shortage. But with this kind of movement and ongoing policy adjustment, and we have seen major changes, especially on temporary visa space. But in terms of cost to service ratio, in terms of how the assessors are assessing the application, well, in fact, if we really think about international student visa versus the 485 visa, the processing criteria, the actual overall decision-making criteria is much more simpler. So I don't know why this significant changes in this particular space when the decision maker doesn't have to spend a lot of time assessing the application in contrast to any other visa subclasses. Even tourist visa seems to be more complicated than 485 visa if you think about the as from the assessor point of view. But there are certain cohort will get the continuous concession, but the majority of the cohort will not fall into this particular part where the people will get some concession on this. But that's my 2 cents worth. I don't think the broader implication of this particular fees increment is yet to be analyzed in the market. But over the weekend we had this shocking news, which we don't endorse. But again, as industry expert, all I can say at this point in time is there needs to be significant voice. Someone needs to be vocal about this for a department to hear the implications of what happened over the weekend. Well, thanks for watching. I'll be back again with more news and update in future. Keep watching and keep sharing. Thanks so much. Bye bye.